Raise your telly, jumpstart your writing, get over the hump. Jump into fiction with Shirley. Jumpstart your writing, get over the hump. Jump into fiction with Shirley.
Hi guys, welcome to the Writing Sprints, and I kind of had a little glitch there in between going live and then hitting the intro thing. Usually I do the intro first, and then sometimes it's almost all entirely played by the time that it happens and goes live, and then I don't have the couple of seconds that I need in between to unmute and all this technical stuff. I really think I need a technical person to sit here with me. I saw that Robert was here first. Nice to see you. And Hafamo and Gayla, Cheryl, Silverali, nice to see you all. And Jean, nice to see you back. It's really great to see you all and to work on my book today. I'm super excited. I actually was thinking I got to get my work done in order to work on this book today, because otherwise I couldn't really reward myself with that. And then I had a little blast from the past. I don't know how many of you had an Alpha Smart way back in the day, but it was this little portable word processor, and it was my favorite thing. I actually ended up giving it to a friend of mine who became an author as well, because I thought I'll never need that again. And I had this little moment of nostalgia when I saw somebody talking about it on Facebook and thinking, maybe I need an Alpha Smart again, but I do have a lot of electronics. I don't think I need another technical thing. The cool thing about an Alpha Smart was that it was portable, it was super durable, and all you could do was word processing. You couldn't really do much editing or anything like that. It only showed you 4 lines at a time, and it saved every stroke as you typed a key. And for somebody like me who can easily delete everything, it was a really great thing. And yes, Cheryl has one and Robin has one. I loved mine. I actually went on eBay and kind of looked at them and then was like, I don't know. I don't think I really need to buy one, but maybe I will just for old time's sake. It wouldn't be as fun though to watch me on my Alpha Smart during this as it would be with the computer. So anyways, I think it would be really cool. So if this is your first time with the Writing Sprints, welcome. And what we do is we write for 15 or 10 minutes at a time, because they're supposed to be sprints, which means that they're fast and they go fast. And the whole point of that is that you don't think about what you're writing. You don't worry about it. You don't stress over every word. And then in between, we answer writing questions. And I saw that Cheryl had a question in the community. I'm going to put the link to the community up here on here for you guys, so that if you want to go in there and you guys can participate as well, it's free to go in and participate in the community and ask questions. And I figured I would just answer it here because it's a lot easier than typing on my whole answer, and then I can explain it to her with the question about the scenes. And Robin, yeah, digital notebook, smart note tablet, all of those things. I still keep notebooks everywhere. My notebooks are in my bedroom right now because I was working on something last night. But yeah, they're everywhere. I'm always taking notes, and I have little pieces of paper, and there's some little note or post-it note or something everywhere. And my husband thinks it's crazy. He's all electronic and I'm all paper. Happy Friday. Nice to see you here, Heather. So we'll get started on, that was just, I accidentally hit the record on my text, and so it just recorded everything I just said on my cell phone. That'd be an interesting text if somebody got that. So let's get started on our first sprint. I can't even talk today. It's been a very long week. And before that, I wanted to share, for any of the people who haven't been there, this week's video, which is Character Secrets Pro Authors Know. Now, if you guys are visiting the channel regularly and you notice that the thumbnails change a lot, it's because I'm in a class with Daryl Eves, and he's this YouTube expert. And I'm always second guessing my thumbnails. So I'm trying to kind of try different techniques to see what the click-through rate is and things like that, because there's so much technical things to worry about with it. So if you see the thumbnails change on everything, that's why, because I'm just kind of messing around with it. But I appreciate you guys being here, and especially being here live. So let's get to our first sprint. And what I do is I play some music. We write for 15 minutes. And if you have a writing question in between, you just go ahead and ask me that. And if I forget to tell you guys about next week's sprint, remind me when we come back from this one, because we have to change the date. And I'm going to hit play, and I'll see you in 15 minutes. Hey, we're back. That was a nice 15 minutes right there. And half a mo, yes, the longhand can be really hard. Although I do it for in between because it really helps me think in a different way, especially when I'm stuck. And plus, at night when I have all these ideas churning in my head and I can't sleep, it's easy to write the longhand down. Now, can I read it the next day? Not necessarily. You guys saw the little video I did, the little short with my handwriting on there. Even I couldn't read it, so it definitely doesn't work well for me because I have such bad handwriting. Great job, Silver Ollie, on your words. 223, and Brenda writing longhand. Yes, I do enjoy it when I can. I just write too many words in a year to do it very often because then my hands get really tired. Robin kicked butt with that 597 words. Great job. Let me know if you guys want what you're working on. And I know where a lot of you are from because a lot of you are regulars. If you haven't dropped in where you're from or where you're writing from, feel free to do that. Or maybe what the temperature is. It's finally like in the 60s here. I'm in Florida and I'm a baby now that I live in Florida because it's been too cold for me. Great job, Jane, on the 229 words. And I'm so glad that the character is coming together for you. And yes, Hapmo, lots of notes. I have the same problem. Lots and lots of things for me to try to decipher. So Cheryl asked a great question in the community, which I posted the link to just a second ago, and I'll throw it back in there. So in the community, there's places where you can post discussions about things, and she put up the list of her scenes for her book and then asked about whether that would work and how those would go in order. And here's my advice to you, Cheryl, on that. So I thought that those worked okay. Those were fine. But the way to know what scene comes next is to look at the ending of the scene you already have, and it's going to fit in like a building block into the next scene in that character's point of view by figuring out what goes wrong at the end of the scene. Now, so the character has a goal to, let's say, go arrest somebody, and the guy gets away. So that went wrong. And did he accomplish his goal for arresting the guy? No. And then how did that make things worse for the plot overall? So maybe now the bad guy that he didn't arrest is now a threat to the town and people are scared. And maybe that just multiplied all of his problems. So that's how you figure out if they're interlocking, because once you have this new problem that is created by things going wrong at the end of the scene, that naturally creates a new action that the character has to take. So if the character, main character, male or female, accomplishes their goal or not, things have to get worse. So even if she, say, gets the job like you had in there, but it doesn't pay enough, then that's still a problem. And so she's going to have to find another way to make enough money because now she has two mouths to feed. So there's a new problem, which creates a nice, natural new action for the next scene for her to take. So hopefully that helps. And I'll write that in the circle community when I have a chance. And wow, 62, Shirley, in Portland, Oregon, and 67 in Chattanooga. Yes, it was a nice day here today. It was awful this morning when I went out for my run, but it was really nice this afternoon. Minneapolis, 44 degrees. That is really warm there. I've been to Minnesota and Wisconsin in the winter, and it was awful. It was so cold. So half a mo on strengthening goals, especially the heroines. So I think that first you have to have an overarching goal that is big enough that it can take multiple steps to accomplish. So if it's just like, let's say, open a store of her own, right? Or open a restaurant of her own. Well, then you've got to add a lot of roadblocks in there if there's not enough steps and enough depth to it in order to accomplish it. So let's say she wants to open a restaurant in a building that has been condemned. And so now there's a whole bunch of roadblocks that are potentially in her way. And so that can make it stronger because you've got more things that she has to deal with. So depending on what the goal is, you can layer it by adding more complications to it and also making it more important and more vital in another way. So let's say that she really wants to open this restaurant because let's say her dad is a master chef, but he's been in this deep, dark depression. And so if she opens that restaurant, she's hoping that that will give him a new lease on life. So now she's got that ticking time bomb, right? Of having to get it done so that her dad doesn't get any worse. And so as the city fights her, that's going to make that even more important. When you look at The Bear, which has a restaurant story theme in it, the last season, they were opening up just as COVID was hitting. And everybody who's lived through COVID knows exactly what happened to restaurants during that. So we know that big trouble is coming for them. but they had a deadline to try to open this restaurant because they had to repay the loan and they had only like 6 months to do it. And it was a really big loan. And the guy that they owe the money to is a friend of the family, but he's also a very serious businessman slash probably mob boss, who definitely has to get his money back. So there was all of these things that made it even more important than just creating a place for jobs. Snow coming for Cheryl. My gosh, that's really cold. That's really awful. I'm glad it's not me. And 61 in Santa Maria. That sounds lovely. Um, I'm glad, Gayla, that the information helped you. And those people that were in the other mastermind group, I totally forgot to hit record. I told my assistant she has got to show up at my masterminds at least for 5 minutes to tell me to record because I always forget that. And Hafamo, she wants to do something to rehabilitate her dead father. He died, or not to rehabilitate, to restore her dead father's reputation. Is that what you mean, Hafamo, with that? Because he died in disgrace. So if you look at why he died in disgrace and how that feeds into what she ultimately wants, because she's going to have to want something else besides that. Like, I don't know, maybe he was a war hero and he died in disgrace. And she doesn't want to go to war, but she wants to somehow restore his reputation. Well, you got to look at how can you do that? Well, that would be uncovering the truth about what happened. And as she does that, she's going to get closer to a secret that somebody wants to hide, because maybe her father wasn't the one responsible for whatever happened in the war. Or maybe it starts to look like her father is, and then that makes her really question whether she's doing the right thing. If she's bringing this all to light, is that only going to make it worse? And then she should have some other goal outside of that, that is maybe about helping families that have been left stranded or poor because of the war, something like that, that ties in with it, but is also strong, because once she's restored her dad's reputation, it's kind of like, okay, what's next? And it's not as big as you would like it to be. So if you tie in another goal with it that has something to do with it, like families that have been left penniless by their war veterans dying or something like that, or a disabled war veteran or something like that, then you can really kind of make that multi-layered goal. And yay, I'm so glad that the penny just dropped. And yes, Cheryl, that's totally fine about making the notes. I'm glad that helped a little bit. It's all got to interlock. That's what the great thing is about scenes. Your character goes in with a goal. No matter what happens, whether they achieve it or not, things have to get worse, because the minute things get better, your book basically starts to end. So things have to get worse in some way, shape, or form, and something has to go wrong, so that then that naturally creates their next action, and then everything interlocks. And if you can make sure both characters in a romance novel like you're writing have goals that interlock with each other, that's kind of what we've been working on in the mastermind, is kind of making more of these secondary characters cross over between the two plot lines, then you have much more of that tying them together. Because in a romance novel, especially, they have to be together frequently. And 33 degrees in Newcastle, UK. Oh my gosh, that sounds so cold. I've been watching Escape to Rural France. This guy that is rebuilding a chateau. It's going to take him 100 years because he's doing it himself. And it's very cold there in France. He just had like one warm day, but otherwise it looks very cold. And yes, Cheryl, the end of each scene should end in a hook or a disaster so that the situation gets worse. And it doesn't have to be a physical disaster. It can be an emotional disaster, like my example to Half a Mo. If she starts uncovering the truth and she's like, yes, I finally found out what happened at that battle. I found the one witness to it, but oh crap, it looks like my dad was guilty of this after all. That can really throw her into an emotional crisis. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a physical worse. It needs to be something that forces the character to take a new action so that everything is interconnected. All right, let's do another sprint. We'll do another 15 minutes, and then if I don't talk too much, we can get 2 more sprints. Oh, I forgot to tell you guys about next week. So I will try to remember to say this at the end too. Next week on Friday, I am going to be on a plane going to Vegas, kind of sort of for the Super Bowl, but not going to the Super Bowl. So I will not be able to do a sprint on Friday. So I'm going to do it on Thursday instead, because I'll be in the air. I was trying to figure out a way to kind of still do it. Don't see how that can happen. So I won't be here Friday physically, and so I'm going to do it Thursday instead. All right, let's do another sprint and get some more words on the page. There we go. Another 15 minutes. It was really good. I also wanted to mention too that if you guys have not seen it, one of the other ones that I changed the, what do you call it, thumbnail for is my post about male characters. So that video is also up there and I just threw that in there. So in case you guys missed it. How did that go? Did you guys have some fun with your scenes and your scene goals? Because I always love when it's going to end in disaster. And the scene that I'm working on now, I know exactly what disaster it's going to end in. And I'm kind of excited writing really fast, trying to get to that because it'll be really fun when it gets there. So I think I'll throw this in as a comment just so that anybody that reads it instead will see that. It will be Thursday. Thursday instead. Anybody have any writing questions? We're not going to do any kind of extra thing today because it's kind of a hectic day for me anyways. And so I can't stay late like I normally do. Lots to do, you know, gearing up to any trip like that. So it happens. Anyways, same time. Yes, same time, I believe. Oh, I didn't even check my calendar, right? To make sure I can do the same time. Look at that, Robin, with the 661 words. That is awesome. I love it. Yes, same time. I'm going to put it in my calendar today so that I don't forget. But yes, and I'll write myself a note because we all know that I will forget otherwise. Look at Robin's writing so many words. I didn't count how many words I did. Great job, Shirley. It's a whole new scene that I've had in my head for a few days, so I knew what was going to happen in here. So I've got about 1,200 words, but see, I knew what was going to happen. I know how it's going to end, and so it was a little bit easier to write than the ones that I don't know. And yes, Robin, I have a ton of typos. You wouldn't believe how bad it is. And a lot of times I don't know names. I don't know the name of a tree or whatever, and I just put that all in caps. And Silver Alley, look at that. I love the disaster in the mermaid world where all the fish have gone missing. That would be awesome. I love that. Like, where would they go? That's really cool. And yes, Shirley, thank you. I'm glad that Thursday works better for you. I was doing Thursdays before, but it interferes with a lot of my work calls and things like that because I do have the company to run during the week. And so by leaving it to Friday, nobody wants to do a call on Friday at 4 o'clock. And so that worked out well. And yeah, Robin, I did name my people, but I don't think their names are staying. And a lot of times I do that kind of guy thing. And yes, great job, Cheryl, with the scene GMC for Louisa. And Robert, I cannot believe you write that many words in longhand. That's pretty amazing to me because I cannot write. Well, maybe I could, but I wouldn't be able to read any of them if I wrote that many words longhand. I'm trying to bring up my timer here. Okay, so when you write, do you find a lot is telling and you need to go back into show? Or at least is that what happened when you started Half a Mo asked? Yes, absolutely. I'm going to do a video in the future, I think, where I'm going to show my very first manuscript. I haven't quite figured out what the video will encompass yet, so it might be a few weeks. But yes, I did a lot of telling. It was terrible because I didn't know how to show, for one. And for another, I didn't understand the connection between emotion and scenes. And so that was what everything was missing. And the emotion is what helps you show. And also understanding what the character would notice in that moment and what they wouldn't. So I do more showing now as I write, or I'll do like a little and know that I've got to go back in. Like right now, my characters are running through the woods. And I know I'm going to have to go back in and expand these woods and make them scarier than what they are. But right now I'm just trying to get them from A to B because I'm so excited to get to the end of the scene and then go back and layer it. So yes, a little bit of both. But in the beginning, it was a lot of telling. Wait till I show you guys that chapter. It's so bad. It's so bad. I show it sometimes in my videos. I think I just show the cover of the book because, okay, this is how much of an idiot I was. I even made a little cover for my very first novel before I sent it into, at the time, Harlequin. I put it into, that was the first one. I put like a little construction paper cover on it. What was I thinking? Second one, I printed it out and put it in a 3-ring binder and shipped it all the way to London. What was I thinking with that? That was not good. It is definitely not a professional thing to do, but I knew nothing. I was not in a writer's organization. I didn't have any writers teaching me what to do. I thought, oh, this will make it so easy for them. Ugh, no, I did the wrong thing all over. And I love that Jack 2 and not Jack. I love that. A lot of times I find that if I'm writing 2 or 3 books at the same time, all my secondary characters have the same name because I'll do like a lot of Keiths or Jennies or something like that because they're the first name that comes to mind. And I like the skunks showing up, Gala, and showing the barn because that will be a little bit of a disaster if she's trying to get that as an event venue. And then I once had a time when I was selling my house and my dog, my golden retriever, who was still quite young, I think she was only 9 months old, and she would get nervous when people came over, and she peed on the carpet right in front of the people looking at the house, and they were like, we're not buying this house, and they walked right out. So that ruined that. And so, yeah, those kinds of things happen in real life, and they can ruin everything. So, yes, that would be funny and good. All right, so let's try a 10-minute one and go from there and see how that goes. All right, and if you have a question, don't forget, drop it in there. Let's do 10 minutes, and I will see you guys in a little bit. we go. Another 10 minutes in there. And sounds like something that could happen. The guy, gal, and dog and cat. So yeah, I like that, Robin. A lot of times I just use that, but sometimes I'll just use name instead of guy, dog, girl, cat. And then it goes and replaces all these names. So I don't know. I do a lot of layering as I write a book, something that Hafamo was asking about earlier. It's sort of like, I think I did a video on this on making chili, where I kind of go in and put the basics down, the plot, and just get through the story because I'm dying to know what happens next. And I'm just as surprised as the reader a lot of times because I do some planning, but not a ton of planning. A lot of things I allow to happen because the characters sort of create their own messes, like I talk about on the channel, where their weaknesses cause their problems. And so as that happens, I go back and I layer in and layer in and layer in. And then sometimes the whole scene will get cut. It happens every once in a while. You guys did rocking fantastic today. You guys all like wrote like crazy. I don't know if you guys, if you're not subscribing, then you're probably not getting the notifications. And I apologize for the multiple notifications because I did not know that shorts also notify people. But I've been doing a lot of shorts that are less than 60 seconds. And so they're all about, you know, writing your book or kind of what you should do if you're revising and things like that. Stuff like that. There's all kinds of things that I put up there. So I encourage you to check out the shorts because they are less than 60 seconds and you can just whip through a bunch of them. And there's a couple where my dog Daisy is making an appearance. So, and yes, Cheryl, the characters' weaknesses are what creates their problems. It's what gets them into trouble over and over again. Their tendency to fly off the handle or to assume the worst or to retreat into themselves instead of relying on other people. Whatever weaknesses your character has is what's going to cause their problems. And that's a great way to end a chapter, a scene or a chapter. And you guys, I love that, verbally constipated Shirley. Yes, aren't men usually that way? A lot of them, not all, but a lot of them. So I appreciate you all for being here, and I will see you next Thursday because boom, it's already after 5 o'clock Eastern time. And I will see you all next Thursday since I will be traveling on Friday. And I appreciate every one of you that came. And if there's a topic for a video or something you want to see, feel free to drop it in the comments or email me or whatever. I'll actually put my email address in here so you guys can do that because lots of people, like, they don't want to necessarily make things public and they just like to email me. So there you go. And thank you, Robin, for subscribing. I appreciate that. And be sure to tell your friends. And Robert, I'm sorry about the conflict. I cannot be off the plane in order to do the 4 o'clock. So you guys have a great weekend and I will see you next week.